G'day YouTube viewer, out for a ride on the CMX Rebel 1100, and I haven't done a review on this bike before, so I thought today is the day. I'll get off and give you a good look at it in a little while, but let's just kick off. It's a beautiful sunny day, coming towards the end of summer in Australia. 27 degrees looking at the dash there, and nice to have the air circulating through the jacket. So off we go. I love this bike. Now the story behind this bike is that I wasn't planning to buy a Rebel 1100. I walked into a motorcycle dealership one day. I was looking at second-hand bikes to help teach someone how to ride a bike with gears, Riding Hood, if you've not seen her channel yet. And in the showroom was this bike. It had been sitting there for a while. They had sold it to someone and then the sale fell through. I'd been sitting there for a while and he just offered me $2,000 off the new price, and I just said yes. I didn't hesitate. It was one of those impulse buys, and then it sat in the garage for about a week. I just rode it home without trying it or anything else. It was wet weather at the time, I was busy at the time and didn't ride it. So then I thought I should take this out and have a quiet ride around some of the local streets, which I did. And I just fell in love with it straight away. It's unlike any other bike I've ever ridden. It's unique. It's a cruiser design, but it's more than a cruiser. I've always ridden Japanese bikes pretty much throughout my entire life. So we're talking decades of riding here. And this is a mid-position. So it's not a position I'm used to, and I'm not used to sitting down this low. But as I was going around the streets, I just felt, wow, this is such a nice bike to ride. And it is a cruiser, and I treat it like a cruiser because I just like leisurely rides on it, and I love going on quieter roads and around local quiet streets where I can just keep changing up and down the gearbox because it's so nice to hear that sound. It's a standard exhaust, so it's not a big sound. You probably won't be able to hear it much through the mic in my helmet today. By the way, I'm testing out a new mic and trying different things to try and cut out the wind noise. Hopefully we've solved that today, and you get to hear me without the wind blast shooting through there. But it's just so nice to ride. I mean, it does have capability. It has a higher... I'll just wait for these cars to go past. Has higher foot position off the ground, so more clearance on when you're going around curves than just about every other cruiser. And it is fun in the twisties. I have taken it on a twisty mountain ride and really enjoyed it. But again, I wanted to do it more leisurely because of just the sound and the feel and the way the gears change, and it's unlike any Honda I've ever ridden before, but it just is a very pleasant, easygoing machine. Now it's a very low seat position, just over 700 mils off the ground. I'm not used to that. My arms and hands are up a little bit higher than I'm used to, and so it's very different from that point of view. But about 5 minutes into the ride, I just really enjoyed the position. I still love my other bikes, and every bike I own I use for a different purpose. So I grew up riding dirt bikes on a farm. Then when I got my license, I had sort of trail bikes at the time, which would now be classified as dual sports, I guess, or enduro bikes. And then I progressed to road bikes. And so now I have a dirt bike that I use for dirt trails and things like that. I don't have any technical bikes, although that may change soon in terms of doing more gnarly stuff. I have a little scooter for commuting around town. I have a Z900 RS, which is a retro, and I love that bike. That's like the dream bike from when I was a child. Just love that bike, but the modern version of it. And it looks the part, and it rides like a modern bike with ABS and traction control, but that's about all the electronics on it. Then I have a touring bike. That's a V-Strom 1050 XT, and it's designed for riding around Australia. and on that one you're up very high. Same with the dirt bike I have, which is a DR 650. I'll just concentrate on the corner for a second. They've just reopened this road after all the flood damage last year. We had about 12 months of rain in Australia, which is really unusual. It's like the hemispheres switched around for 12 months. I know it was hot and dry in England last summer, and parts of France and other countries. In the US, I think is it the Missouri or the Mississippi is almost dry. So it's like normally Australia is more the dry country, dry continent. But we had about 12 months of non-stop rain, and partly they think part of the reason from that is the volcano that erupted under the ocean off Tonga, on that island near Tonga. And because it was an underwater volcano eruption, and it put so much moisture into the atmosphere, into the air, the wind currents at the time took that water out above Australia and out into the middle of the Indian Ocean, and then it gradually all came back, and that with the El Niño, the combination of those two things is why we think we had such a wet year in Australia, but it really destroyed a lot of our local roads. Like this one's closed for about 6 months, so it's only just reopened. It's still pretty rough, but that's a good test, because I've heard people say that it's quite jarring on this bike, but I'm not noticing that at all today. I find the seat quite comfortable, the standard seat, so I'm not planning to change that. It's not a bike I would do long rides on, and if you did that, yes, you may need a different seat, but I like firm seats. This one cups you quite well, and I actually quite think it's a good riding position. It's way more comfortable than I expected, and when I first put my feet up in the mid positions, to do that I find it a little bit uncomfortable, because my legs, I'm getting a little bit older now, my legs aren't used to being in that position, but within 5 minutes of riding and I've relaxed, I actually feel it quite comfortable. And you can lean on those pegs and use it to turn into corners and out of corners, so you can actually put pressure on quite easily, which I would imagine. I've never ridden boards, that's something I'm going to change soon. On my radar is I want to buy a Harley very soon, and I will get one with forward pegs, forward position, and so my father had a Harley many years ago, but I was too young to ride it. So I'm looking forward to seeing the difference, but I'm really happy with this. I've fallen totally in love with this bike, and for this kind of ride, it's just really nice to, when you do give it the beans, it really does take off. It certainly has some get up and go. It's an 86 horsepower by memory. It's the Africa Twin motor, which you've probably heard from other reviewers, and if you're interested in the bikes, you would have had a look at the bike, you would have had a look at the specs. In the Africa Twin, it's a 100 horsepower motor. In this, they've tuned it down, and it's about 85 or 86, but the emphasis is on low-end torque. Sorry, I'm just cruising along and the traffic's going to go past me, but I'm just enjoying this ride so much. And I'm doing it at a leisurely pace, so I don't get too much of that wind noise, and that so I can talk to you about why I love this motorcycle. It's really, I never thought I would buy a cruiser for a long time, but it certainly changed my mind. It's made me want a Harley even more now. I think the Harley will be very different in terms of it'll be power off the line, probably won't corner as well as this, although some of the new ones look like they will. But I still want more the classic Harley. I don't want to buy a Harley to do twisties and cut carved curves and things like that. I wanted a Harley for the sound more than anything else, and the look and the style. This is like a modern take on a cruiser. It has its own look, and I really like its look as well. Some people don't like where the tank is and the shape of the tank and a few things like that, or the fact that it doesn't have a V-twin. It has a 270 degree crank, so it behaves more like a V-twin. But hang on, we'll just get around this corner. Oh, we got a tractor coming up. Gives me a chance to change down gears. I love the sound of that as you change gears. Hopefully you're picking up the sound off the other mic. I will do a ride shortly where I put a mic at the rear, because even though it's fairly quiet in terms of a cruiser, because of the standard exhaust and the Euro 5 emission regulations, it still is a great sound. It's its own sound. There's no sound as cool as a Harley sound though, but this is different in its own way, and I really like it. Okay, I'm going to follow this tractor because I feel like just chugging along a little bit. He'll turn off in a minute anyway. Yes, what I was saying is some people say it doesn't look like a real cruiser, or it's not a real cruiser because it doesn't have a V-twin. It's a modern take on a cruiser, but it has that 270-degree crank Africa twin motor, and it's a beautiful motor. It's got a real low, deep burble. Could use a louder exhaust, yes. So it accentuates it more, but it, as I heard one reviewer say, it's like this thunderous sound coming beneath you. The motor does feel like it's got plenty of power, and if you hit the accelerator, it does have plenty of power. I'm quite enjoying going slow around here. What I'm going to do today too is, for another review, is do a cruise control test. Now the front tyre is a 18-inch wheel, but it's a 130 profile, so it's a thicker, wider front wheel than a lot of other bikes have, but it doesn't affect its handling at all. It's so easy to turn into corners. You just give it the slight indication you want it to move or to lean or to turn, and it does it, and it's really good for counter steering as well. The bars are wide enough for that, but they're really comfy. Some people say it's too much of a stretch to the handlebars. I actually find that my arms sit just there perfectly. I'm around 180 centimeters tall. I weigh 85 to 90 kilograms. I do have relatively long arms, I guess, for my size, and they just sit where I would want my arms to sit. They just seem to be perfect. Now I'm quite happy to go slow here. I'm in third gear, just chugging along. The motor doesn't mind lugging a little bit. I'm very careful on motorcycles not to lug the motor. I don't think that's good for motorbikes. That's just a personal opinion. But this one, it gives you that sort of a lug feel when you're cruising along. Doesn't really matter what the gear is, and it just seems to like that. But as I said before, you hit that accelerator and it really does go. Yeah, so it's the wheels again, so it's an 18 on the front and a 16 on the back. It's a 180 on the back, a 130 on the front in terms of profile. And so it looks pretty cool. Lots of dairy farms along here, so the cows certainly leave their mark on the road. When they're wet, I do try and avoid them. When they're dry, I don't care. But this bike is still fairly new, so it's I do try and keep it fairly clean. So we might go around this. We might give it the beans and go around if he's not turning. Whoops. No problems with acceleration. I'm still getting used to that horn being in the position it's in, where I go to turn the indicator, and I've seen other people do it as well. It's just a Honda thing. No doubt I'll get used to that fairly quickly. I bought a little second-hand CB125E for my friend Riding Hood to learn to ride a gear bike on, and the same thing happens with both of us on that. We keep accidentally hitting the horn. I only do it about once or twice. Once I've done it once, I remember, okay, got to be a bit more careful with that, but yeah. But the sound just lures you into this relaxed state. That's what I love about this. You just get lulled into this nice relaxed state, peaceful. It's enjoyable riding. You're just enjoying the sound and the feel of the motor. There's no vibes or anything like that, uncomfortable vibes through the handlebars or the foot pegs or anything like that. But there's just this feel, this nice gentle feel. And it's soothing, it's relaxing, and it's peaceful. And it's really, really enjoyable. Okay, we're coming up to a little ferry here. We're not going across to the island. We'll go and do a U-turn in a minute. A little bit of off-roading there. Not really. Just on the gravel to do the U-turn there. Comes this tractor again. Maybe he's going out to one of the farms on the islands. Here we go. We're riding in standard mode today. Still love the power in standard mode and that sound. Because I'm using a helmet mounted camera today for the GoPro, the sound off my helmet camera won't be that great. You won't hear it that much, but I've got the other GoPro on the handlebars with the microphone facing backwards, hoping that that will give us a good audio sound to give you a bit of an idea of what the exhaust sounds like. As I said before, or as I've said before, it's not a Harley sound. No cruiser sound is as good as a Harley. Indians are pretty good as well, same with the Triumphs. But it still is a really nice sound, and I just love it. It just lulls me into this sense of just really enjoying my ride, enjoying the experience, enjoying the day. It's just wonderful. The gearing to me is good. I like the gearing on this bike. It's not for like expressways and things like that. You can easily sit on 100, 120, 130, no problems. But the sound and the feel of the engines, the bit I love about it is just going up and down through the gears, listening to how it sounds. It's a little bit more, not in a bad way, it's made, Honda have done it deliberately, made it so it feels a bit more and sounds a bit more clunky when you change the gears, but the gearbox is beautifully smooth, don't get me wrong on that, but it just gives you that cruiser feel. It's lovely. Just stop talking every now and again so you can hear the bike, and if I stop mid-sentence it's because I'm listening to that sound. I just forget I'm talking and just want to listen to it. It's just so good. Beautiful day, 27 degrees, the sun's out. Alright, the other thing I love about this bike is how clear the dash is. It's just perfect. It's so clear, easy to read, all the information's easy to understand. You just glance, you can see it, you can see where your revs are with the tacho around the top there. The speed in the middle is so huge, you have there's no doubt what speed you're going. And it's just, and then your traction control, your engine braking, your power gives you a good clear indication of what all those things are doing, temperature, great fuel gauge. There's no doubt what everything means and how clear and easy it is to use. The other thing I should talk about are the rear view mirrors. I find there's only about 20% of my shoulders in those rear view mirrors. I'm a little bit of an old-fashioned person in terms of the looks of bikes and things like that, and I love the circles for the rear view mirror. Very clear that no vibrations at all in them. I'm not finding any whatsoever, and so for me they just are really nice. very clear. Indicators are easy to use, apart from sometimes bumping the horn. The select buttons and mode buttons are very intuitive, very easy to use as well. It's just a very easy, leisurely bike to ride, but it's a bit of a Dr. Heckle and Mr. Hyde in that if you do want it to mean up a little bit, it will do it, no problems whatsoever. If you do want it to get angry and hit the beans on it, it will perform, it won't hesitate. But it always gives me a smile. It always attracts a lot of attention as well. I'm not aware of another Rebel 1100 in this community, so everywhere I go people are looking, going, what's that, what's that? Including the Harley riders. Just listen to this sound going up this hill. Nice tight corners. No peg scraping, perfect. Loves the twisties. Again, there are other bikes that I prefer to do twisty mountain roads on, including my Z900 RS, but when you're out for a cruise and you get to one, it's really enjoyable. It's more applicable than the Z900. But it's a 4-cylinder smooth engine, that one, and it's a completely different experience. I love the sound of that bike too, but for different reasons. Right, we'll just go up here and do a little walk around in a second. low speed, that sound is beautiful too. The acceleration sounds great, the gear change sound is great. This is where I took it for a first ride and just fell in love with it, just chugging around, chugging, not lugging. And just, and today's an even nicer day, nice and sunny and beautiful. Alright, just having a look at the bike there. You can hear the fan going at the moment. We've just pulled up. Okay, it's a large single disc at the front with a 4-pot caliber, and then a slightly smaller single disc at the back. But it brakes quite well. Got no problems with that. To me, it's a modern take on a cruiser. To me, it looks good. I love the headlight, the way it's done. You can see the low seat height there, the quite fat front wheel. I've seen wider and fatter, and then your 180 on the back. Alright, let's hop on, start her up and continue. In the sunlight there you can see that fleck on the it's all blacked out, the whole motorcycle, which is a good look, but it's probably more a deep grey than a black on the tank, and you can probably see the speckles, for want of a better word there, that's really popping at the moment, that tank. Alrighty, let's hop on. The tank seems really high here when you sit on it, but it's really nice. So that's my review on the CMX 1100 Rebel from Honda. What a great initiative to come out with a cruiser that's a little bit different to everything else, a modern take on one, using a beautiful motor in that Africa Twin motor, detuning it a little bit, putting the torque down the lower end, and just coming up with something that will introduce many people into the cruiser market. I won't get rid of this ever. I just think it's a fantastic bike, and I love it every time I take it out for a ride. Never get tired of that. Alright, please like and subscribe to the channel, and I look forward to seeing you on the next ride I do, and I'll start doing more reviews. A lot of new things coming up on the channel soon. This is my semi-retirement, my leisure, my pleasure, and if you feel like coming along on the journey with me, you're more than welcome. Love for you to be involved.